That's what you need to be scared of. I just had to do it, you know. All right. No, wait. Oh, yeah, we're ready to go. Okay, so am I? Okay. The way this works is, has anybody ever done this Google Hangout thing? Y'all ever tried that? So you can call each other actually on the phone, but you can also use a webcam, which I don't see one in here, except I do have one attached to this. And then if you go through YouTube and then go to a live event and start it through the Hangout, I can call. So what I'm on the Surface and I'm calling this computer. I have several Gmail accounts. So I'm actually calling myself, answering, and then all this is being presented to the screen. But at the same time, like if you're sick with the flu, you can actually join the class while you're like flopped up, throwing up or something, you know. So at the same time, you can participate in it. There is a way to do it, although I think the way it works is over here with the chat thing, and I don't have it displayed on this thing. So I guess if I see it, I would see it up here instead of here. Um, but at the end of the lecture, it shows up on YouTube. And so what I'll do is I'll put the link out there so that you can go back and look at stuff. So here, and I know that's Disney, so we'll get rid of that. Also, what I'm doing is, and I'll put this link. Oh, that's the one I just got rid of. This is the one I worked the other day. What I'll do is work another one or two, but at the same time, this file exists on the library over there, and I'll put the link so you can access it through Blackboard. All you gotta do is click it, and it'll come up and have all the extra stuff with it. And it looks about the same, although sometimes the text shifts around a little bit. Although what I wrote shifts a little bit to the right or left or up or down, but it's still, you can still understand it. So we had one test. Let's do another one Monday, and then do another one like the next Monday. What we'll do is a week from today. So then what we'll do is I'll take, since the material is so similar, I'll at least drop one. And if you do well on the last one, now if you do well on the first one and not on the last one, it's hard for me to replace a score going forward. But it's easy for me to argue that if you did well on that, the last one, the next Monday, and then the Monday later, I can even wipe out the one before. So, but at the very least, one of them is going to be thrown in the trash can. So, if you want, I mean, you can have all three if you want it, but you know, it might be better if you. Plus, I'm not going to put as many problems on there because I don't want to stay as long. So that test will be on. Okay, so 1, we didn't have one. 2, we had one. It'll be on 3. So all it is, if you look at it, I mean, and we've already gone past it. All it is adding that to it. Sum of the forces equals 0. But all the geometry stuff is still all the same. So that's the reason I can get rid of it. And then technically, on the next Monday's test, the Monday after that, the force resultant system. I mean, I think I can legitimately. So you got an extra component, which is a moment. I can legitimately, if you do well on this, I can clobber the one before that. So, however, I'm not obligated to do that because if you don't do as well there as you did on the other one, I'm not going to clobber a good score with a bad one. You know what I mean? So, you seem stunned. Are you stunned? Somebody turned on the heat in here. So, we were in this section right around in here. We did this problem, which actually has three components, 3 dimensions. And I did goof up at the beginning with ignoring the MAZ and the MAY. In 3 dimensions, you have 6, you can have as much as 6 unknowns, but most of the time in his problems, he won't have all of them. So let's try to find ourselves another one. Okay, now wait a minute. If I'm going here, I think I have to go back in order to find the problems. Okay, here. That's why I was trying to open that other thing. Oh, come on, here. With scrolling, there we go. Okay, so let's run back. This was back. Okay, maybe it was forward. Okay. Okay, there's where it came out of that. Did it come out of that section? What was the number of that problem? Did I put the number of that problem here? 571. Okay. I believe it's, oh, okay, it is the other way. I thought it was the reverse way. Very similar to that one. So there's a lot of work problems in here. So let's grab one more and then we'll do static indeterminacy. But I've sort of alluded to that already. I don't know. Pick a problem, any problem, except the one we already worked. Anybody have any preference? Anybody really, I mean, nice pictures. There's a simple one. Let's do that one. You see these at Lowe's all the time. Although they're smart enough to put the 4th wheel on there. I don't think it'd be a good idea to have something like that without that 4th wheel. So, but I'm not building them, so maybe there's a reason they want a 3-wheel. So he wants to know the reactions on the wheel. So let's grab this, create a new page. I can add a new page and then head back off into it. Drop the picture. And then there's 2 or 3 ways that you can approach this. One is just the ad hoc kind of way, which is probably just as legitimate here as any other way. Let me bring up my Octave thing, under G, and I will bring up just just the screen with it so I can do my math inside that screen. I've got a keyboard on order so that I don't have to keep unattaching this thing and reattaching it. So here, let's do this problem. First, I mean, if you're a physicist, I mean, I'll sort of approach it like a physicist first. A physicist wants to do everything the same way all the time. So looking for a convenient location to put the coordinate system, and so I'll just put it right there. He didn't tell me what it is, so I'll just run X out this way, which kind of means I run Y out that way, which if I cross the X and Y, I get a Z. Now, I also need to put the, here, let me, here, do that and make it about that thick. How about that? I also need to put the forces being pushed up on the wheel. The wheels can roll, uh, that is, in the X plane, I mean, in the X direction, but they can't roll in the other one. So technically, legally, I should be able to put this. Now I know I'm putting them all in this direction. So what I'll do is this is BZ. This is, oh, sorry, C. Should be saying C. The C, force on C in the Z direction. CY, BY, AZ, and AY. Now, there's 6 equations. Some of the forces in the X, some of the forces in the Y, and some of the forces in the Z. Now, if you look at this thing, there's no applied load in the Y direction. So if I looked at this thing and I really wanted to argue something, I think I'm going to find that I'm not going to get anywhere with this. In other words, let me just, instead of being too much like a 360, now start. Oh no, man, I knew that was going to happen. I'll tell you what, here's what you do. Just plug in the last. You should see up under here. It's like, I tried to find out how I could plug it in up there. I'm not sticking mine. It's just a mess over there. I don't know. They don't need to things the way they used to. That's okay. That's the way life is. So here, we'll do it this way. The reason I started doing this a couple of semesters ago is because I guess they decided no longer to supply the markers. So I decided I better do this because I can't from classes because I couldn't find any markers. So this is my machine anyway, so pay an extra fee for using it. But anyway, I don't want to get there. I don't want to go there. So if you that little ridge is in the way. I don't know how to get that out of the way. You think this mouse maybe off it in it? Let's try to do this. Just click it. There we go. Okay, so if we think about this, okay, so I could write the math, but I could also do this. And this is where moments come in to play a lot of times. If I put a draw line from B to C, and you can see they're lining up here, and then I take anywhere, say B, and I do the moments around the Z direction. Okay, let's think about this. Does this produce a moment or a twist about that? These three, there's nothing there. Does this produce a moment about that? Even there's no moment on it, so I can move it anywhere, so there's no moment on the twist. Now, if I move this off a little bit, it'll twist around that. So this one produces no moment about B. This one actually doesn't produce a moment about B either because it's pulling straight out that direction. It's not twisting that way. So the only thing that produces a twist about B or C is this load. There's no other twisting. There's nothing, the person's not up here shoving it like this. If he was shoving it like this, or he'd have to shove it like this would offset it. And he would push it this way, and the wheel would be going like that. If you want to try that, you go to load, of course, they'll start sliding around the floor. Unless you have it loaded down. Well, if you have it all loaded down, it's probably not going to slide. So from that discussion, I would argue that that's zero. Now, does that make sense? So now I can sit here and say, well, let me just pick A, any point. I'll pick A or this place. Well, if I sum the moments about here, these two offset produce nothing either. So you're basically stuck with that one, and that one are gone. So I drew them on there But legally, you're supposed to draw everything. And I can leave them for a few minutes if you want me to. What we'll find out is they all disappear anyway. And maybe I'll just do that. But I could, and what I'll do is I'll go back and do that. That's okay with you. I'll first do it without them, and then I'll say, let's throw them on there so as not to confuse the issue a little bit. And here, I guess I'll sit in a little chair. And so, if I get rid of those momentarily, then I got that left. And then all I've got, and I could legally do this, but here, we'll sum the forces in the Z direction first. Because actually, I don't have any in the X either. So this is useless. This is useless. That's useless. So anything that's useful is this. So useful, I get what? I'm AZ plus BZ plus CZ is equal to, well, here. I can't do that yet. So I'll say minus 500, minus 800, and minus 380. And that's all got to be equal to 0. So that gives me one equation right there. Now, I've got 3 unknowns. So I at least need 2 more. Now, a mathematician would sit there and do this. Now, and we are part mathematicians, so we're kind of hybrid. Engineers are supposed to be kind of hybrid. So we'd sum the moments as a vector equal to R, well, the sum of all the R across the F's. And that's all got to be equal to 0, but that 0 is a 3 by 3, I mean a 3 by 1. So I could start drawing my R's out to all my locations and start doing that. I'd have 6 of these because I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. However, I'm going to act like an engineer now. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to look at each individual. Oh, I had this one up here. This is the X. I'm going to look at each individual moment. So first, I'm going to start working some of the moments around the y-axis at, I guess I'll call that A. Yeah. And I'll start looking at it. Now, I turn it around like that, so that way I don't want to come around. Okay, so I just take my thumb, run it out the axis, and start thinking about, well, if that's positive, I'm just going to keep that. Then all 3 of these things are producing a moment. Each one different. And all 3 of these are producing a moment that way. And so technically, all the moments from these that are twisting this way have to offset with the moments there twisting that way. So I'll just go in. Yeah, I'll put back on. I'll just go in and do those. If I had a chair over there, maybe. So, well, let's start with the 500. I guess that's the closest. And then what I'm looking for is the distance from here out to here. Because that's the moment. It looks like 8 inches. I'm just going to keep it in inches. I'm not going to switch everything into feet. So I got 8 inches running out to there. And I guess the next closest one is at 380. And it looks like 12 and 8. 380. 12 and 8. I think that's 20, isn't it? One which is 10 more. That doesn't look like a 20. Okay, 10 more. Okay, that's 800. And then 30, right? So I've got the moment produced from this load, this one, and this one. And now I got to do the ones on the bottom. A goes directly up the axis from what I can tell. It looks to me like that's the case. He's got this little line that goes straight up to right here. So I'm going to assume that the wheel is directly under that location. So that means that AZ doesn't produce a moment. So the only thing I get is BZ And it turns out, believe it or not, if you look at this, like we were noticing before, directly under this is lined up directly under that. So the distance from this location out to here is the same for both wheels. And so I could just say BZ plus CZ times, what is that? Okay, so I've got 8 and 10 and 30, 35. Okay, and that's all got to be equal 0. I've already have the 0 up above, so I've got another equation. So I've got one equation, now I've got two equations. I got to grab another one somewhere. And, of course, your logic would probably be able to pick up the other one, and that is, you know, if you stare at this, tell me whether you think the wheel on the, I'm going to say right or left, tell me which one of these wheels do you think is carrying more load, just from the picture. Yeah. And why do you know that? Because somebody stacked more junk on that side than on this side. This stuff, okay, this is right in the middle, so that's going to be split equally. This one not, and this one not. So it's pretty straightforward to go ahead and say, use my right hand, run it down the x-axis, and I'm going to do the moments here. Well, this one doesn't produce a moment. This one does, and this one does not, and this one does, and that one does. So from that, that'll give us a third independent equation, which I don't guess we need another one. And so let's just do that. That is some of the moments about the location A again, out to X equals 0. Okay, so now I'm measuring directly from, I'll pick up the 500 pounds first. It's kind of, he's got this thing for that 300 pounds is, or 380 is right in the way, but this is the moment on that axis, and he's got that as 12. It's 12 and 12 on both ends. Okay, however, if you put your thumb and run it out the x-axis, the 500 pounds is not moving that way. It's moving the other way. So it's minus, I almost wrote, so it'd be 500 pounds. And again, I'm just using inches. So why is it minus? Well, because if you take your thumb and look at that moment, this one is producing this, which is going out the negative x-axis. So even though I'm not acting like a physicist, I'm keeping my sign conditions that way. So a physicist would do all this and have just these cost products. He would basically be working off of it. So I'm still trying to, so that way maybe another student or somebody, a physicist, please do, and then you compare what you got, and at least you would have the same sign. So I got a minus here. This one goes down and produces a twist that way around the x-axis. And so it's a positive. So it's what? 380. Is that right? 380 and then 12 again. Then I've got, okay, the BZ. Now the BZ, okay, let's do the CZ first, because the CZ, the way I've got it drawn, it's producing a positive. And it's 12, right? And then I got a BZ, which is negative, and it's 12. Am I seeing this right? They're all 12s? I guess they are. So I could just get rid of those. And so you've got a third equation. So let's pack all these three equations together and see if we can figure this out. First of all, let me go back to the first equation. I'll slide this. I'll go back to the first equation, and I'll list it AZ plus BZ plus CZ is equal to 5 and 8 and 380. Let's see, what is that? 1680? Is that right? If it's not right, let me know. I'm not guaranteeing anything. Oh, no, there's too much multiplication here. This one's coming from 1. Okay. I'm going to have to use my keyboard on this. Let's see. First of all, yep, it's connected. All right. I'm not even going to attempt to do. Yeah, I'll do it down here. Okay, so what I'm doing is 500 times 8. I'm doing the equation right above the window there. 380 times 20 plus 800 times 30. Did I type all that in right? Oh, geez. Wow. Okay, 35. Okay. 35,600. 35,600. And move that to the other side. It's 35 over BZ plus CZ, which tells me I can have an equation here that looks like this. BZ plus CZ is equal to, let's see, what is that number? 35,600 divided by 35? 17 point, is that 1? 1, okay. Okay, so I got that one. Got this one. And now I got this one, okay. Takes me a minute here. Okay, so I guess I'm going to take minus BZ plus CZ is equal to, so I'm taking this stuff here on the other side. So what is that? Then it becomes, the minus becomes a plus over, so it's 500 minus 380. What is that? It's not 120, is it? Is it? Okay. And now, the reason I listed these this way is I was kind of presetting my mind so I could lay them in a matrix. And if you start thinking that way in MATLAB, that's kind of advantageous. So I'll list the matrix and then I'll go back and write it. Well, first of all, am I okay? Did y'all check that as I did it? Does it seem? Did I do it? Here, I'll let you look at it for a minute just to check me out. There's no guarantee I'm right. So as I'm doing this, it's easily possible that I goof up. So, okay, so am I okay? Okay, so then what I like to do is go ahead and put them in a matrix, because then I can put them inside a MATLAB easier, or Octave, or whatever you want to call it. Now the right hand side, I got 1680, so I'm grabbing the first equation is going to go here. This equation is going to go here, and that equation is going to go there. 1017.1 and 120, which means is on this side I got 111. So AZ plus BZ plus CZ is equal to 1680. There is no AZ in this equation, that second one, but there is a 1 and a 1. There's no AZ in that third one. There's a minus 1 and a 1 there. So technically, it's be an easy equation for MATLAB to figure out. So I'm going to call the one on the left K. 1, 1, 1, and then skip to the next row, 0, 1, 1, skip, and then 0, minus 1, and 1. So there's my left-hand side, and I'll call all the right-hand side. Okay, so it's 1680, 1017.1, and 120. Okay, so then all I do is just inverse. There's a couple ways to do this, but the matrix is small enough it doesn't matter. Times B or R? R. B, F, R. Okay. So I got, okay, it's going to be hard for me to remember this. So you know the way I'm going to do it? Let's see if I can do this. Can I do a copy? Oh. Is there a way to copy that? Shoot. Okay, I'll just have to remember it. Okay, let me pull off the keyboard. I'll remember it. There come the rain. Okay, so 662.9, 662.90, and the other one's 448.55. 448.55? Did I say that right? Okay, 568.55. 568.55. And so that lines up with AZ being this, BZ being that, CZ being this. Okay, so let's see if our assumption was right. Did we thought CZ was going to be bigger than BZ? And so we got that. It does seem, okay, now at first glance, it seems like there's too much load shifted on the back near the handle here until you realize BZ and CZ together are handling that 800 pounds. So if you add up 560 and 480, that's bigger than 662. So that makes a little bit, that it all makes somewhat good sense. Now the big key, let's see. I did not write the number. Okay, 567. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. It's 567 on page, what page is that on? 254. Now I'm picking the 254 from up here. So I can go back. Oops, wrong thing. 254. That way I can take this thing and jump 567, right? Okay, wait a minute. I need to get it better now. 567. Okay. Is that what we got? 663. He called it FA. I just called it. What did I call it? I just called it A, B, and Z. Okay. 662. Got 663. So he moved his decimal, which is probably just as good. Okay, so 549 for B. And then 569 for the other. Oh, go away. Go get out of there. 569? Oh, there it is. 569. So we got the right answer according to what he got. That doesn't mean that either means we worked it wrong together. So now 248, I think. I gotta stick with that. So now you can see why I need a. What did I just say? 268? No, it wasn't 268. What was it? 248? 254. Okay. Oh, it was at the bottom of the page. So, that's pretty much it. I mean, all you've got to do with these things is, first of all, don't make the mistake I made the other day. Make sure you get all the loads. Like here's one. He's got a determine the force component acting on the ball and socket at A, the reaction roll on the roller. So I wish I could do the other one, but this one, here, I'll do it. Well, can I do it? So on this one, you'll have a load going straight up at B. The roller, you'll have a load going in the X and the Y and the Z, but no moment there. But what you notice is there's only loads going in the Z. So you could have that thing. The only reason you have that thing on that as a ball and socket is so that in case somebody bumped into it, it wouldn't just start rolling around on the table. But there's nothing illegal about that. Like if I took a 3 balls and put a board on top of it and sat on it, it's fine. But if somebody pushed me, it'd start rolling off. What they want to do, and this is something you're going to see in mechanics and materials, if you don't have something to hold it, they're going to call that an ill-posed condition. Even though there's no X load and no Y load at A, they want to put that little ball and socket so that it won't roll around the table. It doesn't mean that but mathematically they'll say that's ill-posed. It doesn't have enough what they call boundary conditions on it, which that's kind of what it is. So I don't know. We could do one more, and then I'll tell you what. Let's go in and look at static indeterminacy first. We've sort of alluded to that the whole way through. And oh, where did it go? Now, did I? Okay. There was a. Did I pass it? Good grief. Where is it? Well, static indeterminacy. There it is. Static indeterminacy. Improper constraints. Constraints and static determinacy. All it means is in 2 dimensions, you got 3 equations. That's all you got. Some of the forces in the X and the Y, and then some of the moments coming out of the plane. So you can only have 3 things. So if you sit there and you do like this beam right here, and take a look at this one, okay, how do you make it zoom? Okay. So you look at this and he says, okay, well, I don't know AX, I don't know AY, I don't know BY, I don't know CY. Oh, geez, I'm already stuck. Okay, now, it's true there's nothing out there, but he has a moment out here. But technically, okay, this is a tricky one. Legally, you could say this is statically indeterminate. However, if you look at this thing, you've got the unknown moment, the unknown Y, the unknown X, the unknown B, the unknown C. So you've got 1, 2, this is a third. Wait, did I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unknowns. So you don't have enough. Now, you can argue that AX is gone, which leaves you with 4, which is still wrong. I mean, there's not enough. However, if you look at this problem, that doesn't mean you can't determine them. What that does mean is it means that you can't determine them in statics, but you can determine them in mechanics and materials. Because what you're going to find out is this little beam right here might be made out of rubber or something, and so it's going to flex more. So you're going to have a little bit of flex to it, and you'll use that. So you think about it. Let's get rid of the AX there, and just say we have 4 unknowns. So statics gives you 3. I need another one. If I have another equation somewhere, I can figure this out, and it somewhere comes from mechanics and materials. And so you have that. With these other 3, you can solve it. So you can solve for all 3 of these, but you can't do it in this course. So I don't know if he explained that, but he does say statical. Okay, determinacy. Well, that's kind of a weird word. So anytime you're in 2 dimensions and you have more than 3 unknowns, you're just out of luck until you get to mechanics and materials. Anytime you're in 3 dimensions, did I say? I hope I said 2. Anytime you're in 3 dimensions, okay, does he have it? Here's, I guess that other one was 3 dimensions. But anyway, you have 6 equations there. So if you had 7, you're out of luck there. He also has something he calls improper constraints. I mean, these are perfect cases of improper constraints. Would you ever go build a beam like that? And why would you not? I mean, yeah, it can take a load like he's shown here. It can take a load here, it can take a load there. So you can start solving them, but the first thing you're going to notice is the roller is just going to flop on the ground. It's not, it's not going to work. The other thing too, I mean, here's another typical case. You have that, the thing's just going to swing down and gravity's just going to hold it down. That doesn't mean you can't build it that way. It means that it's not going to be solvable in the geometry he's drawn. So he shows this and he says, oh man, that's a bad problem. Well, yes and no. What that thing's going to do is just going to flop down and sit there. If your load P still, like if that P is from like a wire and a box hanging on it, it's just going to pull it down and the geometry changes. That's all it is. So again, it doesn't mean it's like, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, you could do it, but the geometry is not going to be the one he shows. And then I guess, yeah, here's the thing with the marbles on the table. So you put a beam on the table. If you sit straight down on it, it's fine. But some guy comes and pushes you and the beam just starts rolling across the table. Well, technically, you could do that. There's nothing wrong with that until the marble falls out from under the beam. Now, they used to move stuff like this in the old days. You put it on a bunch of rollers and you roll it out and making a pyramid. I'm making it for that. You just roll a bunch of logs and you shove the big brick out there. And when you get the log out the back end, you go put it under the front end and, get a bunch of slaves and beat them and abuse them until they shove it up there and get it to, and they'll move it, Don't feed them, so, you work for food. By the way, you kind of do that anyway today. I mean, it's just that you choose where you go to work, How about that for us? So, I mean, that's pretty much all there is in this chapter. So it's kind of all you did in this one. Okay, so kind of review. In chapter 2, we were dealing with geometries and vectors and unit normals and stuff like that. Then the transition from chapter 2 to 3 was really only adding the equilibrium, some of the forces. You knew that they had to line up and be zero. So you take the same problem out of chapter 2. Now you take the same geometry, flop it down on the page, and actually you'll see that. And now he's asking you, is it going to move? And if not, what's the force at this point that it doesn't move? Everything is the same. Moving into chapter 3, he starts dealing with twisting moments. And then, I think that's wait, let me make sure I'm saying that correctly. That was chapter, okay. 2 was the force vector. 3 was the equilibrium. Force system resultants, which that was the moments, which I don't know why. That just seems like an odd title. Somewhere in there, the title should say moments, and they're adding moments. And then you're talking about equilibrium of rigid body. It's kind of there's really not much difference between 4 and 5, except there is an extra dimension that he throws, and there's these weird boundary conditions, how things are sitting. So we're starting to sound repetitive. However, in the next chapter, we start dealing with, making sure the roof doesn't collapse on us. And so this is kind of a cool section here. But I don't want to do that anymore today. So I guess technically I need to go back and give you a set of problems. I already gave you sets in 3, right? So I'm going to go look back and find out what we got in sets 3, 4, and 5. But next Monday, you're only worried about 3. And I'll come in next time and talk about, what might be on the, I'll sort of look through what I did and pin you down on some problems. The next test, I'm not going to put as many problems on it. I think maybe I put too many. So that last problem, I should have just taken it off to begin with.